Wow, what a game. The Colorado Avalanche complete the comeback. They complete the sweep. They end up getting through Edmonton in 4, and not a moment too soon because they are banged up. Edmonton is banged up. This was the best game of the series. What a gutsy performance by the Oilers in this last game. But the overwhelming force of the Colorado Avalanche, their big guns, Nathan MacKinnon, Gabriel Landeskog, Mikko Rantanen, they all came to play. They stepped up in the absence of Nazem Kadri, but nobody, absolutely nobody stepped up bigger for Colorado than Cale Makar. Ding, ding, ding. The heavyweight title fight is over, and Cale Makar is the champion of the series, in my opinion. MVP for the Avs, shuts down McDavid, shuts down the Oilers, generates offense while shutting them down. Hey, look, we talked about it in our series preview. I said if Cale Makar can not only shut down Connor McDavid and the Oilers, but continue to produce offensively, he will carve his name in the stone tablet of history as the best defenseman in the NHL right now. So in my opinion, I know it's recency bias. I know Hedman is still playing and has something to say about it, but what Cale Makar has done in this series, this season, and as a growth trajectory, it is at this moment, in my opinion, he stands alone as the best defenseman in the NHL. If you doubted him before, how can you doubt him now? What a clinic by Makar and the Avs. Congratulations to the Avs. Big shout out to the Oilers. Let's go ahead and let's talk about it. So let's do some house cleaning here on the Edmonton Oilers in this series and in this game. In this game, you could tell the Edmonton Oilers were just beat up. We talked about depth coming into this. We talked about depth coming into the playoffs. You heard me say it. I said the Oilers were shallow as a kiddie pool. I don't back off from that term because I didn't see anything that really changed my mind in this series, but I'll tell you what I did see from the Edmonton Oilers. I saw a lot of battle. I saw a lot of heart, and I saw a team that is up and coming and a team that's going to do some damage in the West for a few years to come. I also saw a team that was a little bit deeper than I even gave it credit for, and I saw a team really grit through a lot of injuries. Hey, look, Avs fans, I know you were down Kadri. I know Burakovsky is out. I know you end up down Kuemper. The battle of the playoffs here, team, really is a war of attrition. There's a little bit of luck that goes into the playoffs, and it's a luck of health. You have to be healthy going into the playoffs, which we know the Oilers weren't. They ended up having a bad-legged Leon Draisaitl, and that's tough if you don't have the depth of, say, the Colorado Avalanche, who have an enormous amount of depth. When you lose a player of that caliber, it's going to be very hard to recover from. So I know they didn't lose him. He played on one leg. What a gutsy performance, series, and playoffs by Draisaitl. We'll end up seeing what is actually the matter with him, but I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up having to go get a few little cleanups here this summer. Really nice job there by Draisaitl. Warrior play. The Avs depth just ends up holding off. So the Avs have all the kinds of injuries in the world to key players. They still have MacKinnon. They still have Makar. Both are incredibly healthy. They have Mikko Rantanen, and we said he was a big X factor in the series. If he can step up and start scoring, sure, he had a ton of assists coming in, but Rantanen plays amazing in this series. He gets a big goal tonight, especially on the power play, so that X factor ends up stepping up. Gabriel Landeskog was beaten up all series long. It looked like that guy was going to exit, but what an absolute animal Landeskog is. He is definitely one of the biggest, toughest, most underrated strongmen in the NHL, isn't he? Avs fans, I know you're not going to say he's underrated. His paycheck doesn't say he's underrated, but when I hear people talk about big power forwards, I don't hear Landeskog's name in that conversation nearly enough. What an absolute monster of a man. There's a reason this guy wears the C. He's an absolute beauty. McDavid, Draisaitl, and Hyman get loose tonight. They finally learn how to shake off the Makar Toews lockdown, and they end up getting a bunch of points. The challenge is that Makar and Toews also end up getting a bunch of points. So the depth of the Edmonton Oilers team defense was on display right now. And we talked about the Oilers going into this series. We said, look, their lack of talent outside of the big four up front is going to hurt them. Now, Ryan McLeod ends up stepping up beautifully in this series. That guy's got future top 6 written all over him. But after that, you could really tell the Oilers were missing Evander Kane tonight. You can tell with injuries how badly dinged up and banged up they were. Darnell Nurse was just worse for wear all series except today. Gutsy performance by Nurse, his best game of the series by far. He finally shows why he is one of the best defensemen in the NHL tonight. I thought he played a near perfect game considering he was struggling. He was struggling all series. We know that. He was hurt. He's probably going to leave with a bit of an abdominal tear here at this point. Mike Smith battled the heck out of this one as well too, so big props to Smitty. But after that, Evan Bouchard ends up having a good run on defense, but really Woodcroft has to roll the 6 defensemen of the Edmonton Oilers equally. There was nobody that ended up standing out on the blue line that could handle the elite talent of the Colorado Avalanche, and even though they are down key players, they just keep rolling because their elite 4 or 5 players are still in. That is crazy to think that no Girard, no Kadri, no Kuemper, your starting goalie, your top center not named Nathan MacKinnon. I mean, come on, Kadri's had a great year. Even I could admit that. He has been a talent and a revelation for the Colorado Avalanche here. And Girard, although he is not Toews or Makar, is a massive piece to the blue line here. And they just keep rolling because you have Makar, you have Toews, you have MacKinnon, you have Rantanen. It just doesn't end. Joe Sakic has built a nearly perfect team here at this point in time. The Colorado Avalanche will get a much needed rest and they will play the winner of the Bolts and the Rangers. This was just, it's tough for Edmonton to lose in a sweep, but this was one of the best games I've seen the Oilers go ahead and put together. So before we get back to the Avs, let's just finish up our last thought on the Oilers. Look, they still have, as our buddy Lance Kane, hey, heads up to Gannon over there. He sent me this. I love getting this stuff from our friends over there in the Discord. You should join the Discord. You should also subscribe to the channel. We're at 9,200 subs and growing. We're growing like gangbusters. Thanks to all of you. Keep hitting that subscribe button. It's free. Hit a like for me. It helps share the video. It gets it around to more people so they can get great hockey analysis. And then go ahead, think about joining our members page or throw a super thanks over to Coach Ryan D for all the work we've done here on this series and playoffs there for you. So Gannon ends up sending me a little bit of a information package here on the Oilers, and this is why I like having multitudes of fans there. 32 teams, 82 game seasons. There's a lot of nuances to follow in hockey, so you guys get the big assist from me. Their last 3 first-round picks still in the system. They are waiting to come up. They still have their first-round pick this year, so people are talking about depth, myself included. It's theoretically coming. If these picks hit and they're as good as we think they can be, then you end up making your pick again this year in a very deep draft, and that is how you are going to replace and create depth on this team. Theoretically, going into next year, yes, Mike Smith, Mikko Koskinen was not the answer. Koskinen's going to go over to Europe. That's going to open up salary cap space. And I think the Oilers are going to run with a combination of Skinner and Smith. I think they have their goaltending solution in-house. So to me, that is what they're going to end up doing. Will Evander Kane sign? Yes or no? I don't see him taking a discount. I mean, he's shown that he's a good player. I think he's going to be looking for another $5 to $6 million. And why shouldn't he? Can the Oilers afford it? Yes. Should they afford it? I don't know. We'll have a more detailed Oilers video later, but they definitely have some wingers and forwards in the system that they think can step up. You need to find a way to have Draisaitl, Nugent, Hopkins, and McDavid as your 3 centermen and get the pairing of Draisaitl and McDavid away. Oilers fans know it. I know it. I don't know if the Oilers organization knows it, but you got to find wingers not named Zach Hyman that can step up in there. So I think McLeod can now step up in there. So you have 2. And will the depth and the drafting of the Edmonton Oilers be able to get in there, or will they pick up a free agent or make a trade this summer? We'll end up seeing. They also need a defenseman. They got Bouchard and they have Nurse. There's nothing wrong with that too. But Duncan Keith, Cody Cece's not bad. I don't have any issues with Cece. He's fine in a 3-4 role. Duncan Keith's a little long in the tooth. Maybe Brett Kulak ends up staying. Maybe he doesn't. But overall, great job done by the Edmonton Oilers. You got to be proud if you're an Oilers fan. You made it really deep. You win the Pacific. You get to the Final Four. Injury bug gets you. The depth, it's a little bit of a challenge, but you should be around for some time to come. The Colorado Avalanche, though, my goodness, what a team. Hey, look, we showed it in our preview, breaking it down, and guys always want to hang out on the fact that, hey, Coach Ryan D can't pick every one of them right. Look, we knew it was the Avs. We told you in an hour video that this is going to be the Avs, but then we picked the Oilers, and we told you why. Picked with the heart. We're human as well, too. I'm human. I was betting on the greatness that was Connor McDavid, but it was the greatness that was Cale Makar that ends up shutting him down, and I love seeing stories of greatness. So Makar has now stepped into that echelon of the #1 defenseman. It is lovely to see. It was beautiful to see. MacKinnon just absolutely doing what he needs to do. He is trying so desperately to bring that cup to Colorado like he promised, being the 101. You know this guy wants to win. He's won at every level he's ever played at. So will this be his year? He's going to have to wait for the Bolts or the Rangers. The only Achilles heel I see right now for the Avs heading into the Cup final is, one, is it going to be goaltending? Look, I know Francouz has been awesome, but eventually backup goalies get figured out. Just go ahead and look at Domingue, go ahead and look at Mikko Rantanen, and eventually backup goalies get figured out. So they can only play for so long. If Kuemper returns, that's a big deal. If Kuemper doesn't return, it's not that the Avs can't win with Francouz in, they can, but it'll be interesting because this will be their first real test, in my opinion, of an elite goaltender. They're either getting Vasilevsky or Shesterkin. Now, yes, the Avs have a very deep, front-loaded, back-loaded team. Their defensemen are awesome. Their forwards are awesome. Nazem Kadri is probably not returning. He was in a cast. This is my guess, not a doctor, but I think he's going to be out. We know Girard is out for sure. Burakovsky returns this game. Looks all right. Looks good. So I like what Colorado has, but when you play the Bolts, you play the Rangers, regardless of whether they go to 5, 6, 7, it doesn't really matter. You're going to be getting an elite goaltender. You're going to be getting a team with elite defensemen as well, and you're going to get a team with a good top 6 up front. So it should be a hell of a Stanley Cup final for the Colorado Avalanche and whoever they play, and it's good for them to end up getting this rest because boy howdy did the Edmonton Oilers beat them up this series in this game. I mean, like we talked about, Landeskog was beat up quite a bit. Zach Kassian had the greatest game Zach Kassian has ever had this game. In control, proper. Landeskog goes to run him into the boards, ends up hurting himself, but Kassian takes a run at a couple guys. He ends up hitting Manson from behind there. He ends up getting slashed from him at this point in time, and I mean, I don't blame him. It's interesting watching this. Those slashes back in the day would be an auto fight. Kassian keeps his cool, and he even ends up scoring a goal. So at the end of the day, Edmonton got a really good return out of Zach Kassian this game. It was awesome. I thought Colorado let him get in their head a little bit at this point in time, but overall, the Avs' dominance and ability to come back, unbelievable. 3 unanswered goals end up going to overtime, and then you end up winning. You've heard me say it many times, cool as a cucumber. That is the Colorado Avalanche. When you're that talented, when you have a coach like Jared Bednar, when you end up having leaders like this team does, you are never going to panic, and it really does feel like it's going to be Colorado's time right now. The trouble is they are going to run into one of 2 other teams that also feels like it is either their time or still their time. So I can't wait for that final. Cale Makar, the point machine, ends up moving it over here to his buddy Nate MacKinnon. Nate MacKinnon's going to move this puck in beautifully down to Mike Smith. So really nice job here by Makar. Fakes him out, moves it over to Rantanen, and then what happens? They're going to end up widening the zone again. And of course they end up widening the zone. Beautiful shot here by MacKinnon, but this is where things fall apart. Look, there's 1 loose puck. There's 2 Edmonton Oilers, and there's a defensive Zach Hyman, a playoff and penalty kill specialist. Well, the Oilers end up getting on that loose puck first, but it is unfortunately Mikko Rantanen who ends up getting stick on puck here on Zach Hyman, or so you think. It's actually the skate that ends up getting up on the puck, and Hyman ends up taking a tumble here. This could easily have been a penalty, but it's not. I think this is tripping at the end of the day. The ref does not. He has an eye there. He says, nope. That puck ends up going back to the top here to Cale Makar, and take a look at the greatness that is Makar. You see him moving his feet. His head is up. He's in a shooting ready position. He's got 2 options. He can make this pass over to MacKinnon, or he can end up scoring the goal himself. So regardless of whether or not a penalty should or shouldn't have been called, the greatness that is Cale Makar is well noted on this shift. The greatness of Cale Makar is well noted on this shift. I mean, you can see it. Beautiful walkover. Puck is right here. We have a stick in a high slot tip lane. It's just going to end up finding eyes and sneaking past Smith and Nurse. There's nothing anybody can do about this. When a player this good wants to go ahead and decide he's going to shoot to score, he's going to shoot to score. Great job there by Makar. 1-0 for the Avs. Darnell Nurse makes a beautiful stretch pass out here to Leon Draisaitl. And what ends up happening at this point in time is that puck ends up being moved up. Devon Toews ends up getting caught. Cale Makar end up getting caught. So it leaves Makar with a 2 or a 3-on-1. It's just a quick, fast break here by Edmonton. Not much you're going to be able to do it. This is Nurse's best game by far. Nurse had an incredible outing for the Edmonton Oilers. Great to see him finish strong. Draisaitl is going to end up finding Hyman here on this shift, and Hyman ends up burying it to make it 1-1. Just before that goal, though, we want to show you the greatness that is Connor McDavid and Zach Hyman. So the goal ends up going in based on the stretch pass, but the stretch pass can't occur unless Cale Makar and Devon Toews end up doing what they're doing. So McDavid gets the matchup he wants, which is a 1-on-1 against Toews instead of Makar. But this is the greatness of Connor McDavid before this goal. All 3 Colorado Avalanche know it's 97. We can talk about Hyman. We can talk about Kane. I know he wasn't playing this game. We can talk about the Sporting Cast all we want, but when the best players and the two best defensemen in the final team end up saying it is all about 97, we're going to leave Zach Hyman in front of the net. He is less of a threat alone, even though he has scored multiple goals like this than Connor McDavid. And then take a look at this. Cool as a cucumber. Cale Makar, beautiful stick press here on Hyman. Puck is loose right here. So not only does Makar contain McDavid, but he ends up taking that puck away from Hyman on a place he scored a million goals, it feels like, in this playoffs. And that's just a really good job. That puck ends up getting ripped around the boards, and that is how we end up finding Darnell Nurse for that breakaway pass and that stretch pass there. So nice job done by Nurse. Amazing job by Toews and Makar. They just end up getting burnt by the quickness that is the Edmonton transition game and Darnell here. Devon Toews makes a quick pass up to his winger here, and we talk about this all the time. NHL players and NHL coaches do not want that puck going east to west too many times, especially backwards. Do not go back to your defenseman backwards cross ice. You need to move this north to south. So even though you end up taking it on your forehand here and your back is turned to Nugent Hopkins, you have to find a way to chip this up the glass, up the boards, or eat it up the wall and wait for your puck support. You do not want to go back to Toews on this puck, but that is exactly what they end up doing. They go back to Toews. We also take a look at young Boehm Byram. He is right here. Why do I draw this line? Because you are supposed to be inside this line, dot to post. This area here, you do not want to have a defenseman in there if there is no puck in that area. You want to have them in the area that is in the middle of the ice. So as soon as that puck ends up moving up to the wall, Byram should have been busting his butt into the center of the ice, but he doesn't do that. And that doesn't allow him to support his partner here. So Toews has a little bit of a puck fumble. That's no big deal. Puck fumbles happen all the time, but there is no support there from Byram. The Nuge is in by himself. Beautiful goal by the Nuge. Ends up putting it past Francois there, and it is a 2-1 Edmonton. Edmonton finds Leon Draisaitl here, and at this point in time, Draisaitl is so hurt, he can barely move. This is a guy who is injured. He's looking for the X factor, his buddy Connor McDavid over here to score a goal. Draisaitl isn't even going to move his feet on this puck. That's how injured he is, so he makes it look easy. This is the best passer in the NHL. The best passer in the NHL finds the best player in the NHL. Connor McDavid ends up stepping in. He snipes that goal. Great job by Draisaitl. Great job by McDavid on that power play. But what a pass by a guy on one leg who can barely move at this point in time. All right, Devon Toews has been scored on here once or twice. He doesn't like that. Toews is right here, the big capital T. He's behind the blue line. That's why I want to take a look at it. Toews is always defensive first before he ends up being offensive. Any young defenseman who watch my channel, this is beautiful. Take a look. Toews is outside the line, and you can see he's above the puck. So he's on the right side of the puck. Toews is supporting exactly as he should. Your puck support is right here. They're all on the right side of the puck. And what is Edmonton looking to do? They're hoping that puck ends up scooting out because they are going to leave on their fast break. So this one-on-one battle is going to dictate who ends up scoring. But Devon Toews is the guy to watch. So that one-on-one battle happens. Take a look at Toews at the bottom of your screen. What does he do? He backs out. He goes, I don't like this. I'm going to play defense first. Well, defense usually leads to good offense. So as he's thinking defense first, that puck ends up going down below. And we've talked about this a million times. Now that you have puck possession, so Landeskog has full puck possession, you're going to step into this zone here. That is the offensive defenseman's wheelhouse. Soon as he sees that they turn it over, it's just two quick steps here for Toews. He has daylight for days. Quick little shot here. You got to love everything there about Toews because he plays defense first and still ends up scoring a goal to make this 3-2. Nathan MacKinnon ends up down here. He does a little bit of a pro curl. He's waiting for help. Leon Draisaitl here on one leg ends up taking the puck away from Nathan MacKinnon. It is a beautiful 2-on-1 here by Edmonton. Remember, the game is a game of 2-on-1. So really nice job here by Draisaitl and everybody getting that 2-on-1 on Nathan MacKinnon. That is how you beat one of the best players in the world. And you can see it here again on the still frame. Beauty 2-on-1 with puck support. Really nice job and lovely stick on puck here. Way to step in. Make sure you have that stick on puck. And that is going to allow your X factor, Connor McDavid, to end up leaving the zone and get a goal on this one. Actually, it's Zach Hyman's goal, but beautiful job here by McDavid. He's gone. Draisaitl is just trying to keep up. The guy is as hurt is going to be right now. McDavid makes a beautiful drop pass here to Draisaitl, so he ends up leaving it for him. Draisaitl over here is going to find Hyman with that exact link side pass. Remember, you want to have player 1 driving the net. You want to have player 2. That's Draisaitl circled here, and you want to have player 3 over here on the top of the circle. Then you want to have your fourth player coming in high, and that fourth player that comes in high, you want to have him right here at the top near the blue line. So Edmonton doing it perfectly, with the exception of McDavid not driving the net, but no big deal. You end up moving it over here to Hyman. Hyman just doesn't miss, buries it, 4-2 Edmonton. Great job with that 2-on-1 though in the defensive zone to generate the goal. Landeskog having a monster of a game here. He's going to end up getting this goal. He starts the goal, he gets the goal. He may as well get an assist on his own goal. Great job here by Landeskog, moving it up to the point to young Boehm Byram. He ends up putting this shot on net, and this is the key here. Huge save by Mike Smith. Massive on Nate MacKinnon. Why this save ends up going in? It's because there's no defenseman back here looking for him. MacKinnon ends up getting behind him, but I'm not a fan here of the Edmonton defense on this play. They're not giving their goalie any help. Nurse ends up going in there, though. Nurse had his guy. He had Nichushkin. It was CC who was out of position. Now what you see is that we're looking for pucks, and I'm not a huge fan of players looking for pucks, tie up bodies, but at the end of the day, what are you going to do here? It's a greasy goal. Landeskog ends up coming in late. He ends up scoring, so the guy that starts the play finishes the play, and he gets a goal unassisted, but it may as well have been assisted by himself. This is the best goal of the game here. Puljujärvi ends up putting that puck in deep. It is awesome. Take a look at Cale Makar. It's Cale Makar versus Connor McDavid. That is what it has been all series, and Cale Makar absolutely wins this one again. As that puck's coming behind the net, I want you to take a look. Did you see that? Did you see the little head tilt here? Cale Makar shoulder checks and goes, I know you're coming, 97. I'm not dumb. I've been on this ride before. I've seen the movie. Come on and get me, because as soon as you come behind this net, it is going to be a problem for you. What McDavid should be doing here now is backing off and staying in front of this crease. Any player would be doing that. That is a proper forecheck. McDavid is getting a little antsy at this point in time right now, so he's going to end up chasing Makar. Why is McDavid allowed to chase Makar? Because when we're one of the fastest players in the world, you can usually end up turning this over. Except you forget that Cale Makar is also one of the best skaters in the world. So he goes behind the net. Never do this as a forward. It doesn't matter how good you are. Makar, cool as a cucumber again. What does he do? 2 strides? Come on, I got you. He's saying in his head, he's like, I got you. Baited, got you, no problem. Ends up moving that puck up the wall, traps McDavid low. Just an easy play there by Makar. If you're playing against anybody but Connor McDavid, that's not even that impressive. That's just a mistake by a forward. But when you were Cale Makar on Connor McDavid, little shoulder check, waiting for him, McDavid chasing, lovely. Lehkonen ends up winning this battle here, and take a look at Nathan MacKinnon. He does his job as well too. So now that Makar has done his thing, this is the brilliance of the Colorado Avalanche. Take a look at Lehkonen. He wins that battle, and it's not luck. He ends up kicking it out here to Nathan MacKinnon, who ends up playing it off his skate and entering the zone without losing an ounce of speed. So everybody is going to talk about the highlights of how good that foot kick was by MacKinnon. He ends up coming in and he pops it high over Mike Smith. But we really do have to go back here to the beginning, and we have to see this dump in here. Watch Cale Makar. Look, he knew what he was looking at. He was looking up the ice 2 seconds earlier from that, and he goes, hey, look, I can see you. That is 97 coming in. He's already read the play. He knows 97 is coming. And look, there's the little shoulder check right there. That is him staring down Connor going, come get me. We are going to put this puck in the net. I am going to tie this game from behind my own net. What an amazing job here by Makar. MacKinnon, beautiful zone entry here on the power play. This is going to allow them to take the lead. And take a look at Landeskog's drop pass here. He has no idea that Makar is going to end up coming into this zone here. So there's no shoulder check. It's a blind pass that is dangerous at any point in time, power play or not. So you got to think that Makar has to be screaming at the top of his lungs for him right now. And does this not look familiar? Look, Mike Smith looking through traffic of 4 players, Cale Makar on top. Remember, we had him over here before. Now everybody sees him as a threat. They've always seen him as a threat, but because he scored on a power play like this from the point, now he takes his option and he exercises moving it over to Rantanen. So people have to give him credit for the shot. Everybody gets caught on one side of the ice. Nurse goes down for the block. Nothing you can do. Elite goal scorer by Rantanen. So you got MacKinnon, you got Landeskog, you got Makar, you got Rantanen. It feels like this was rope-a-dope all night for the Colorado Avalanche. They end up putting that puck in the back of the net. Beauty goal there by Rantanen. But man, we are talking about Cale Makar a lot. Kassian, an unlikely hero, but you can't be a hero without a supporting cast, and the heroic play comes from Darnell Nurse on this one. Again, the best game of the series by Nurse. This is why he is so good. I'm so happy for this guy that he ends up having an amazing game. I love Nurse. He misses the stick on puck here, but that's not a big deal because he's got a great angle on him and just ends up wholesaling him in the middle of the ice. That is Darnell Nurse vintage all day, every day. You end up seeing Kassian pick up that puck, and you end up seeing Draisaitl, pick up that puck. Kassian ends up coming in right here, and he's just going to drive the mid lane. That's what you want to do if you're Zach Kassian. There's not much to think about here. McDavid's got the puck on your wing. I'm going to end up using my speed. Let's go hard to the net. McDavid finds Draisaitl wide. Draisaitl puts a beautiful shot in on net, and Kassian's able to bang it home. Hero for Edmonton there, but this play starts with Darnell Nurse, and of course it incorporates McDavid and Draisaitl. That is how you generate goals if you're Edmonton. Face-off theory. If you haven't learned anything from me at this point in time, you have learned that face-offs are important. There's two key battles right here. There's Lehkonen and there is Duncan Keith, and then we end up having the Darren Helm battle at center ice. Now Helm ends up winning this draw, and what you need to do is you need to tie up your centermen. So whether you win or lose in the defensive zone, this needs to be a tie-up. Duncan Keith needs to make sure he stays with Lehkonen the whole way, whether they win or lose. Keith's first job is to get this puck. It's a neutral draw. It ends up in the middle. And you can see here, Keith is the first one to get his stick on it, but he's reaching. He ends up coming in. Lehkonen has body position on him. He's able to use that speed, that size, and that frame to elbow out the older Duncan Keith at this point in time. That youthfulness of him ends up battling that puck loose over here to Helm. And the problem is that you lost your battle twice. So you lose a battle here, you lose a battle here. You can't allow your centermen to free up. They have to stay tied up. They don't. Then you end up moving that puck up here to Cale Makar. It's not Cale Makar that I want you looking at, though. It's Lehkonen and it's Duncan Keith. Take a look at Duncan Keith there. What is he doing? His eyes are staring at the puck. He does not have eyes in the back of his head at this point. So it doesn't matter if you get older, your brain should still work. And unfortunately, Duncan Keith, you can see it. Take a look at Lehkonen. He ends up sneaking away here. He's going to the net. Duncan Keith has no idea he is just caught puck watching. The 3-time Stanley Cup champion. That is not like him. That puck ends up moving to the top here to Cale Makar, who takes just a quick shot. Beauty shot here. Then you can see, it's tough to see on this angle, but there's a little bit of a tip here off this stick. Is it a high stick? Is it not? I don't think this is a high stick at all. I think this is below the crossbar. This is below his shoulder. He ends up picking up the rebound, putting it in the back of the net. And what did the refs end up seeing? I don't have a good enough angle at it, but the refs said that the puck ends up hitting below the crossbar. It is not on the tip of the stick. So the tip of the stick was above the shoulders. The tip of the stick was above the crossbar, but the puck ends up hitting below the shoulders, below the crossbar. So it is not a high stick. Again, I think this is a good call. He's able to pick up the rebound, put it in the back of the net. It can be deceiving off TV, but at the end of the day, if you want to win this game, you got to win faceoffs, and you lose that faceoff, you lose the tie-up, and you lose the battle with the defenseman. Basically, you got beat 3 times there for 1 goal, and that is why Lehkonen ends up putting this one away in overtime. Okay, guys, that wraps up all the goals here on this channel. Okay, team, that wraps up all the goals here on this channel. That wraps up this series. Stay tuned. We'll go ahead. We'll make a Stanley Cup preview between Colorado and either the Bolts or the Rangers. Subscribe to the channel. Join it. It has been awesome having you all here. Edmonton fans, thank you so much for being here. Hopefully you stay for our off-season content. We'll have some great off-season content. And because we have a member in the executive suites that's a diehard Oilers fan, he gets to pick a video every month, and you know it is going to be massive Oilers content. So if you want me to make a video for you as well too, I will. Join that members page, pick the level that allows me to do that for you. Lance is going to go ahead and demand that Oilers content. We're going to deliver it for him. So there's definitely going to be Oiler content this summer for you. So you want to stay with us, you want to subscribe, but if not, you need that beautiful Canadian summer off. I don't blame you. Enjoy the lake, enjoy Edmonton, enjoy where you're going. And Avs fans, hey, we're going to see you in a finals.